Hello everybody, this is Dr. Kevin Connors and I want to share a little video on understanding emotions role in cancer. And we could say emotions role in any disease, and this could be a series of 100 hours of videos taught by people that are a lot smarter than I am. But I want to touch on some things because I think this is a piece that we fail to investigate in ourselves, because I think if we are honest with ourselves, sometimes we don't want to, or we're fearful of really getting honest with ourselves. So uh, when we look at causes for cancer, causes for diseases, one of the things that we tend to shy away from is dealing with this emotional piece. Some people are better at it. Some people are better at being open and understanding that maybe my breast cancer is tied to a bad relationship that I had in the past, or maybe my breast cancer or my liver cancer is tied to some anger that I've had held inside me. Um, and then some people are afraid to deal with that and think that they might have to go through, years of counseling to deal with that. Sometimes that might be necessary. But we have to address this piece of what emotions do to us, and that they can be at least a participating piece in any disease. So let's just touch on that. And I'm going to give some examples to help us understand that. Organs can be tied to different emotions. There's many different philosophies out there. Some Chinese philosophies that ties a specific organ to emotions. It's been well known that anger tends to weaken the liver, and liver problems can be stemmed from hidden or bottled up anger. Fear affects the kidney, stress weakens the brain and heart, anxiety and grief affects the lungs, worry can affect the stomach. We could go on, and there's many different examples that we can think of with this. But the real tie to this has to do with how our brain processes events. So as events are experienced, um, they, they are held in the brain in our memory centers, and we're just beginning from a neurological standpoint to understand the importance of the temporal lobe in holding long-term memories, and a deep part of the archaeocortex called the amygdala that holds, it's believed to be, they're very emotionally tied memories. So memories that have a strong emotion tied to them, maybe when we were abused as a child, or when we went through, a physical abuse or a rape, or an emotional scar that we had. Those emotions can be um, held in that deep part of the brain called the amygdala, and that can end up coming out later in life as a knee-jerk response to different things, and we don't understand why we respond that way, but it has to do with a past event in our life. This is where post-traumatic stress disorder comes from, and it's held in there, where you see a soldier that was in battle years ago still responds to fireworks in a negative way, because that fear response is held in the amygdala, and it fires off when anything similar will reenact that event in their memory centers subconsciously. So it is maybe on a lesser degree in so many things in our life, and it's best if we can address those, especially if we're dealing with a disease or a cancer or something. We need to start asking some tougher questions. There's many different techniques out there. One is this technique called NET, neuro emotional technique, and this is a sheet, I'm sorry it's not very clear on the slide here, of some different emotions that are tied to different organs. The stomach, spleen, and the pancreas here are interconnected. A person with stomach issues can have any of these emotions that are tied to the stomach. And there's many more. This is just this technique. And this is a very simplified version of this. But let's say I have a stomach cancer. Is it because I am overly sympathetic? Is it because I'm holding disgust emotionally? Is it because I have an expanded importance of self? Is it because I have some obsessive compulsive ideas in my life? Is it because I have some egotistic issues, narcissistic issues? Many of these you'll notice are opposite from one another. So despair may be totally different than obsession or egotistic or narcissistic. Nervousness, stifled, live life through others, overly concerned, hopelessness, lack of control over events, worried, distrust, low self-esteem. Very opposite things here. So a person could have an event take place in their life that then has shaped their future decisions. And if that is deep-seated in our mental structure, it can affect that organ. Now, in no way, shape, or form are we saying anybody with stomach cancer has to have these emotions. And we'll go over that and understanding that. We can use charts like this to help us understand our emotions, but I think there's even a better way to look at our organs and emotions, and that is to understand the physiology of each organ. So that's my first step in this, is to understand the general function of an affected organ. We could go back to a chart like this and use the stomach. Well, what does the stomach do? The stomach holds things that you have ingested. Well, think of that from a physiological standpoint. Emotions that are ingested are similar to food that's ingested. And if we're holding on to emotions that are ingested and they're not going past that to be digested and to be absorbed and to be dealt with and to be broken out and to be changed into something that's useful, and we're holding it in our stomach, it's going to cause stomach problems. So if I am dealing with a physical stomach problem, we could understand that from an emotional standpoint. Am I unable to process different emotions? And because I'm unable to process different emotions, maybe because of a childhood experience, then I could end up with stomach problems. Same thing with the pancreas, understanding the physiology of the pancreas. What does the pancreas do? The pancreas makes insulin in order to utilize sugar and to utilize good things in my life. If I'm unable to process good things in my life and I see things through a cloudy lens, quite often I could end up with pancreatic problems. Pancreas also makes digestive enzymes, so it's part of the whole digestive and large intestine example. I'll give you an example of a person that I know who has large intestine issues. Well, one of that guy's issue with large intestine is he had to start facing some things that he was unable to, because of past events in his life, to basically discharge waste. Isn't that what the large intestine does? So the large intestine holds and discharges waste. And if you can't get rid of waste in your life because of some religious point of view that was put in your life that you have to be the good person all the time, and you could never call maybe someone in your life bad, or you can't make a judgment and say that this person in my life is not good for me, so then I have to keep everybody in my life, and I don't want to be the bad person, and I don't want to get rid of that person in my life because, oh my goodness, God forbid, that would not be holy. Then you're going to be more prone to intestinal problems, large and small intestine, pancreatic, same kind of thing. That's supposed to be making digestive enzymes to break down waste and help get rid of it, and help utilize that. But when we come from a spiritual perspective, or I should say a religious perspective, that we can't make judgments in our life and we have to just accept everything in our life, and we can't get rid of bad things or bad people or toxic people in our life, then we are going to be more prone to diseases of those organs. So when we understand some of the function, the general physiology of the organ, then we can understand a little bit better and start working through some of those processes of maybe why that happened in this organ. Maybe that's why this disease happened in this organ. Another perfect example is, I think it was Carolyn Myss that wrote a large section of one of her books, The Molecules of Emotions, I believe, in that book, about how she believed, and it's in other people's writings as well, that breast cancer is tied in. The majority of women with breast cancer have had an emotional wound from someone they love, because you look at the purpose of the breast is to give to your baby. It's to feed and nurture your baby. You also give your breast sexually to your partner. So if you've been hurt by a partner or you've been hurt by a child, you're more apt to have a disease in the breast. Just like my previous example, if you're unable to get rid of waste in your life, whether it be things or whether it be toxic individuals, because of maybe a familial, you heard your mother say you shouldn't do that your whole life and you should be nice to everybody, and dare you say that this person isn't good for you, well, then you're more apt to have a disease in that organ. So if you understand the physiology of that organ, you can start asking tougher questions. And that's my second point. You have to start asking yourself tough questions, because it's not somebody else's fault. We're not here to blame our mother or blame a spouse, even though we might have been a victim in the situation. Maybe you were abused by someone you loved, and you were a true victim in the situation. We don't want to relive that victimhood again. You're out of that situation. We don't want to stay a victim. We want to acknowledge it, and we want to say, what was my role in this? And maybe I was an innocent child at 6 years old when this took place, but then I'm not a child anymore. What's my role in moving forward out of this now? So we want to ask ourselves tough questions in that, okay, this is what happened. I can deal with it. I can understand my piece of this, and now I understand how I'm choosing to move forward out of this now. If we don't make that choice to move out of this, and we're going to stay as a victim, even though I might have been a 6-year-old child when it happened, then we can never move out of that and be a victor in a situation. Thirdly, we want to be as critical of our own behavior as others. As I said, you may have been a 6-year-old victim in the situation, but you're not 6 years old anymore. And when we turn 18, 20 years old, we have to start taking that adult role and moving on with our life. And you might have chosen to stay in that relationship way too long that was abusive, or you may have chosen to not get rid of that toxic waste for way too long, but it's okay. It's water under the bridge. It is what it is, and it may have led to the situation that you're dealing with right now. But now you have to say, where was my role in this? How do I need to change to move forward out of this, and be as critical of my behavior and what I may have done in this game, that I share at least a piece of responsibility with that. And the next one is to admit that through these incidents in my life, we've chosen certain games to play. And whatever it is in life, we've chosen certain games to play. And what would be an example of us, I'll be as straightforward and honest as possible. I'm a doctor. Why did I choose to be a doctor? Because I had to feel like I have to solve everybody's problem. Is it my own Messiah complex that I need to help other people in order to feel good about myself, if that is true, I have to admit those things. There's some truth to that. I think there's a truth to anybody that's helping anybody else, that we have a little bit of a Messiah complex. And we have to remember that we serve a jealous God, and there's only one Messiah. And I have to admit to that part of the game of life that I'm playing in order for my healing to take place as well. So we're all playing games. We all are. That's life. We have to admit to some of those games that are destructive to others and destructive to ourselves, and take responsible actions to change that. And understand that life is a game. You can choose to change the rules. You can choose to, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it may change relationships that you have that are unhealthy. And it may change relationships that you have right now that are healthy. But as you change who you are and how you play the game of life, some people may not fully understand you. And you have to understand that and help them work through those changes in you. Because you don't want to just be a jerk and lose all your relationships, unless the relationship that you're losing wasn't a healthy one and you need to lose it. So understand that you have made the rules in your game, and you can change those rules. You just have to make that decision to change those rules and have the courage to do so. And lastly, that understand that it's a process. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be overnight. And that's what life is. And God is a forgiving and merciful God, and his mercies are new every single day, thank goodness. And I'm going to mess up again tomorrow, and I'm going to fall back into that game that I've always played, because I have that stuck in my amygdala, and those remembrances that I have as a child that brought me to the position that I'm at right now are not going to be easily erased. But as we look at it, we start taking responsibility for ourselves, and we stop being the victim. And as we may have to get professional counseling and start working through some of these things, we have to start dealing with this, because there are multiple reasons. And as we're digging to find the cause of your cancer, and yes, it may be a pesticide in your large intestine that caused your cancer. Why did that pesticide stay there? You have to look at that emotional piece too. Maybe that pesticide stayed there because that my emotions are stuck there, and I'm unable to get rid of things in my life. That would be a dogmatic position right there. That religious position that I can't let somebody go and let things go, that I can't be flexible, and that I'm a bad person if I say that another person or a relationship isn't healthy for me. And I need to deal with that. And you may need to get counseling for that. And you may need to work through that with some people that you love. But you have to have the courage to do so. And all I'm asking in this little video is that you start looking at some things more critically, looking at your disease more critically, seeing what God is trying to teach you through this. Because this is not a surprise for him. And that becomes your prayer. Lord, what are you trying to teach me through this? It's for my best. So show me how to change. Show me what I need to change. Show me where I haven't been bringing you the glory that I should be bringing you. And teach me how to do that. That's what I'm asking your prayer to be. Go through these steps, and I think you'll find them helpful, and we can talk more about this. All your emotions are good. It's when we get stuck in a certain situation, when we, maybe from wounds of our past, maybe from learn behavior that wasn't healthy, that it could cause a lot of problems. So that's your challenge for today, and I hope that you can work through that and talk to me if you need. Thanks so much.